Welcome to this episode of Pound for Pound. I'm your co-host, Henry Cejudo, a.k.a. Triple C.
And the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman.
And today, guys, we have a real special guest. Yep, that's right. This man needs no introduction. The one and only Dana White. Come on, let's hear it, guys. Come on, everybody.
Yeah, Henry, we usually don't have an audience, but it's a special day.
It's like a studio audience in here.
Audience.
A Shadow Line production.
Dana, how surreal is it? I mean, do you sit with fighters often? And just I obviously know that's your job, but as far as like this, having a conversation with.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't that much anymore. I'll run into people here and there around the office and the PI, but, Sean, Mick, and Hunter really deal with a lot of the fighter-related stuff now. They keep me in the loop on everything, but it's not like it used to be, no. I used to deal with everything that had to do with the fighters. You know what I mean? It was all about that. My stuff these days is obviously still heavily involved in matchmaking, heavily involved in production, but also, I'm focusing on the future, on what we're doing, 5 years from now. Plus, I've, the power slap, I'm all up in that, and me and the Fertitas own a company called Throw One too that I've been very involved in.
And what is it? What, Throw One? What?
We own Ridiculousness on MTV.
Oh, okay.
We own SLS Skate League, Nitro Circus, and Travis Pastrana's Nitro Cross, which is racing.
Right. I tell you what, Dana, it's freaking surreal because I remember this was probably even prior to you buying the UFC. I remember going to Hollywood Videos and buying renting out the VH tapes. I mean, how much the UFC has changed, from when Chemo used to fight, they used to pull his hair, to Hoist Gracie using the gi, to that one boxer with one boxing glove. I mean, how much the UFC has changed to when you pretty much took over. But it's ironic and it's surreal. Like, just walking through your office. Like your office, it's a gym, it's an office, it's you got your recovery room, you have your closet, all that. I mean, did you imagine at one point that the UFC would really turn into what it is now? I mean, it's probably maybe second to soccer, the most global sport where you can be like, you can go to any damn country and somebody will say, oh, that's Dana White. Oh, that's Kamaru Usman. Is that surreal, Dana?
I mean, not really. It's not surreal to me. I'm always thinking how much bigger it can be. I'm always thinking bigger. But I mean, when you talk about how much has changed, when you're talking about, Art Jimenez with the one glove and all this other stuff. Think about when we bought it. I mean, when we bought it, it was very one-dimensional. You had Chuck Liddell, who had some wrestling and some kickboxing. You had Tito Ortiz, who had wrestling and no boxing. You had, these guys like Matt Hughes, who was all wrestling. All these like one styles, and nobody really knew how to train. A bunch of different camps would get together and show each other things. Now it's evolved so much. I mean, when you look at the level of athlete that's here now, and all these kids grew up actually training in mixed martial arts, just seems like every year it just gets better and better and bigger. I'm always saying, how do we beat last year? And we're going to beat last year this year again.
Yeah, Dana, it not only has the sport changed a lot, but you've definitely changed a lot. I mean, we went from having hair to no hair.
Yeah, that's part of age. That's age. That's not change. I don't know if I've really changed that much. I mean, if you talk to a lot of people that have known me for a long time, I've obviously made more money and stuff like that, but I haven't changed much, man. I mean, in 2016 when we sold to Endeavor, this was almost like a Microsoft type situation. People made a lot of money, and some of the people, Joe Silva left, and some other people who worked here left, and they don't work anymore, and they do whatever. I've been here the whole time. I get here at 8:30 in the morning, and I got here last night at 8:30. I left here at 8:30 last night. So not much has changed with me.
I feel that, but when I say I feel like much has changed, is even though we're not together every day or every week, from my observation of you And as far, of course, like you said, aging and things like that, I've seen a bit of a change. Do you remember the first time we met?
Yeah, of course I do.
When was the first time we actually physically met?
That we
met and actually sat and talked.
The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, you were on The Ultimate Fighter. That's the first time we met.
No. The first time we met was in 2012. It was the Sunday after, I don't remember which UFC it was, but it was the UFC where Rashad Evans fought Chael Sonnen. Rashad just beat Chael. Myself, Rashad, Glenn, a former manager at that time.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
You and Lorenzo. We went to the old office. We had a sit down. And of course, you guys, basically Rashad wanted to have a conversation with you guys on what's next because he was right in line to contest again for that title. And here I am, little new guy sitting in the corner, and I'm 1-0 at the time. And Rashad, what he wanted to do is because the new Ultimate Fighter the casting for it was about to come up, and he wanted to ask you guys if you guys would consider having me on there because, I was just a wrestler coming in, and I'm 1-0, and I'm having a hard time getting fights. And we sat and talked, and I remember that moment because that was my first encounter with you. I remember you standing up, and you told us a story while we were there, and I remember walking out and going, yeah, that guy's not just a shark, but a smart shark who has a vision for what he wants to do with this sport. And I don't know if I'll tell the story. You walk in and Lorenzo's sitting down, and you basically were talking to Rashad, and he was talking about the fights he wanted. And you said, you know what, Rashad, I want you to understand something about fighting, about what you do, and how great it is, and how big this is, and how big you can get, and all. And because I was thinking, where is he going with this? And you said, these fights, they are big. Some of the biggest baseball players, biggest football players, biggest actors and whatnot in a room. But when Mike Tyson walks into the fucking room, everybody knows that Mike Tyson is in a room. Everybody knows that fighter, that killer is in the room. There's a certain level of respect as a fighter, as a gladiator that you get. And I remember hearing that story, and I'm just going, oh shit, that this is true, because you could be the biggest actor in the world, but as a fighter, as a gladiator, there's a certain level of respect that the world still gives you. And I say that to say, I saw you at that moment, and I'm like, oh shit, this dude, because you were so passionate when you said it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then I watched you over the years. Now you taking a step, back, especially from the matchmaking and whatnot. And then now I'm seeing the spark reinvigorate with you getting into new endeavors now as Power Slap and whatnot. So when I say I feel like you've changed,
I get
this
it.
is what I mean.
Totally get it. Yeah.
Is it change?
Yeah,
or
I mean,
is it evolution?
you both could attest that. Back in the day too, after the weigh-ins, I would go back into the room with you guys and kind of talk to you about what this show meant and what it means for you and what it means for the sport and what it means. Sean and Mick do that now. You know what I mean? Yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying.
You've been doing this for over 30 years. Looking at the fighters and whatnot, does it ever get old for you to see a young kid come in and like Sean O'Malley, this skinny kid with this ridiculous tattoo on his chest, and get up on the cage and say, "Welcome to the Sugar Show," and then watching him grow and now become on the cusp of really becoming that superstar? Like, does that ever get old to you to just watch the development of these
It's awesome.
guys?
No, it's awesome. He was here this morning, actually.
Really?
I don't know if you guys ran into each other.
No.
He just left here like probably an hour ago. But it's funny that you asked me that question. I think I was telling Lene yesterday, right? We set up the Ultimate Fighter, and sometimes you just said, I've been doing this for so long, and I've done so much and seen so much that you start to get kind of numb to it sometimes. So the other day I had to go over. So 3 days ago, we filmed the first episode of The Ultimate Fighter. It was 20 years to the day that we filmed the first Ultimate Fighter, 20 years, and we're still doing the show. And I was in my office. I'm like, fuck, I got to go over there and fucking film the Ultimate Fighter right now. Then when I went over there and they opened the fucking doors and I walked in and the kids, look at my fucking arms. I walked in and the kids were standing in there and I saw their fucking faces and I felt that, look at my arms. I felt that fucking energy. I don't know what. And I was like, fuck. This is still awesome. This is still fucking awesome. You have these young guys, and if you look at how many champions that show has produced, how many top 10, top 5, fighters in the world have come off that show, and they walk in there and they're, they hope to someday be up on the wall and hope to someday be a legend in this company and in the sport. It's still pretty badass. I was literally just talking to Lene yesterday. Lene and I had this guy. I said, Lene, she's been out fucking partying in LA for like fucking 5 days or something. So she just got back to work.
He was gonna put you on blast, Lene.
Yeah, she just got back to work. So we were literally sitting down. Yesterday I said, Lene, I fucking went to the Ultimate Fighter 2 days ago, and yeah, no, I still love it, man. I still love it, and I love the fact that we can go out there, whether it's looking for a fight, the Ultimate Fighter, the Contender Series, which is now, the Contender Series is my favorite fucking thing to do. I actually like it better than the big pay-per-views. I like it better than anything. I can't wait for that to start again. You take 2 of the guys that are looked at as the best in the world that aren't here yet, and you got one fucking shot. Show the whole world right now who you are. It's my favorite fucking thing to do. But to take these young guys and bring them in and, like you guys were, you get the opportunity to come in here and make a bunch of money and change your family's lives. There's nothing cooler than that.
Yeah, I think a lot of, because obviously I've researched you a lot. I was looking up the Big Boy interview, and it's crazy. At the age of 19, you knew that you wanted to be somewhat in combat sports. Like you want to be a promoter, and you're a workaholic since the early to mid 2000s, and you were thinking about going for another job. You would never go to anybody's weddings. And you happened to go to that one wedding to that one good friend that you had, and then that's when you bumped into your old to your old classmates, I guess you could say, the Fertitas. Tell me about that, because I want to see, because that was pretty much it changed the course of mixed martial arts.
This podcast is so fucking weird already. I was at dinner on Saturday with some friends, and we were talking about, and my niece and her husband were there, and they're like 27, 28 years old. So they're at that age in their life where everybody they fucking know is getting married, and then they're going to start having kids and all this shit. And we were talking about how when I was building this business, I had a blanket policy. I did not go to anybody's fucking wedding. Didn't matter who you were or how close you were to me, or I didn't go to anybody's fucking wedding. Weddings take time, energy. Some of them are out of the fucking state. You got to travel to them. Nobody's fucking wedding. My son Aiden, his due date was Chuck Liddell versus somebody. I moved the date of his birth for the Chuck Liddell fight. Yeah, I said, yeah, that ain't going to work. We got a fucking fight, big fight coming up. So my wife had a C-section.
Talk about a businessman.
Yeah.
Woo! Damn, Dana.
We're gonna have to get him out of there early, because that ain't gonna work for me. Yeah.
But that's the ambition. That's the ambition that I don't think people truly understand. Obviously, you and the promoter, you've loved the sport of boxing. That's where your love originated from. And then you saw everything that was going wrong with boxing. How is it that you wanted to change it? You found love with the sport of mixed martial arts. You introduce it to the Fertitas. I mean, you guys bought it for $2 million. Next, you know it. You guys are in the hole for I don't know how much, but close to about 40 or 30. And then you had to go all in. And then this is what
we were 30 something, and then the last 10 million that the Fertitas were going to spend was for the Ultimate Fighter season 1.
And talk about a damn jackpot. I remember back in those days in 2004, 2005, when I saw the whole season. You know, we saw was it Koscheck, Diego Sanchez. You remember some of those guys, right, Kamaru?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Bobby
And
Southworth.
Season one, yeah,
just but the
Southworth,
crazy
yeah.
shit about it is all these crazy knuckleheads were able to carry the sport. And then obviously we had the finale with Forrest Griffin and Stefan Bonner, which really put the UFC on the map.
So true. I mean, at the time, you know, we did the deal to do the show with Craig Pelagian from Pilgrim, who's done it, you know, still today. And, you know, Pelagian is very good at putting together the right cast. And that first season of Tough was casted so well.
How fast did you guys see that turnaround? Because you're in the hole, and
I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
So there was nothing on this planet I hated worse than budget meetings. Now, when you're making shitloads of money, budget meetings still suck. When you're getting murdered and losing fucking millions of dollars, there's literally nothing worse than budget meetings. So we were always in budget meetings. Then after The Ultimate Fighter, I want to say it was probably 6 or 7, 2006 or 7. I don't remember. Probably 7. And we were in a budget meeting. And Lorenzo used to have these fucking big whiteboards. He always liked writing on whiteboards. So I'm watching this thing play out on the whiteboard, and I'm like, wait a minute. Does that say I'm going to make $1 million this year? And Lorenzo was like, yeah. So I owned 10% of the UFC. So however the company would do that year, you know, after expenses, you know, the owners, me, Frank, and Lorenzo, would get our percentage of whatever was over. And that year it was $1 million. The first year I made $1 million.
I think of the course of how the UFC grew from, you know, obviously from being banned in certain states to eventually you guys, you know, catching that deal with Spike to eventually then going with Fox and then the anticipation of ESPN. You guys ended up locking in that deal, like just the sequences of how is it that the sport was how it actually built. I mean, the Fertittas have been instrumental, and you've always given your oath to these men. You know how they've always kind of been like the behind the scenes type of guy. How is your relationship with them still now to this day? How frequently do you guys see each other?
We talk. Lorenzo and I were texting today. He's out of the country right now. He's on vacation with his family. But, you know, we're still best friends. I mean, we own multiple businesses together still. We're probably involved in 4 other companies together right now, me, Frank, and Lorenzo. And, you know, we'll be super close till the day when we die. You know, this is the way that I am. I surround myself with a very small circle of people that I've been with for 30 years. I mean, even my friends, you guys know Skipper Kelp, right? The former boxer. Me and Skipper are together every fucking night. I mean, we've been together for years. You know, friends, we go out and hang out. And I believe in life that you pick a team of people that you like, care about, and you feel care about you and like you, and you roll with that team through the good and the bad, and it is what it is. I don't let a lot of new people into my life.
Yeah, I feel that. And, you know, just to stay on that topic, I know we have a lot that we want to ask you. But, yeah, that's something that's very, very important to us right now, and that part of our careers where we're at is understanding that exactly is the business aspect of that in life, and really giving yourself freedom. Because, I mean, obviously your schedule is jam-packed, you know, for things you have to do every day. But, I mean, I would think you believe that you have the freedom to do what you want, when you want, with your family, when you choose to.
I'm busier than I've ever fucking been in my life. It's crazy. You would think that, you know, you think when you become successful, it would start to slow down and you can take some time and you can do this and that. I don't want time. I mean, I've been on a lot of great vacations, and it's all the same fucking shit. It's after day 3, like, get me the fuck out of here. Get me out of here. I've had enough of this. But you guys are different. You guys are wired different. Fighters are built differently. What I noticed with a lot of fighters since day one, you guys will come in. You have a very unique opportunity in your life because you'll come in and you'll make a huge lump of money, right? Then you guys go and disappear for a while and you go do whatever you do, hang out, go on vacations, do what you want to do. Then it's time to get back in and you make the decision mentally or however you make the decision that you're ready to get back and like, all right, I'm ready for a fight. And then you guys start gearing up, you grind, you kill yourself, you do the fight, and then you get to take off again. You guys are wired differently than any other human being on earth. I say it all the time. Professional fighters are not like everybody else. They're very special, unique individuals. That's why there's this many of you on planet fucking Earth that are great enough to compete at the level that we compete at here. You're not like me. I'm different than you, and nobody's like you. It's what makes you professional fighters. It's what makes you the baddest motherfuckers on earth. You're not wired like anybody else.
So now in a position that myself and Henry are in, which obviously you know a lot about your boss man, is what would you say? What would be your piece of advice that you would give us now? Of course, we're still at the top of the division. We're still grinding here, but we're in a position now to where we really
You're in the twilight.
are starting to think. We have we have kids, we have women to take care of. We got parents and all that things.
You're in the twilight of your career, right? And what happens is that you guys are in a place in your life where you've already laid the foundation. You've achieved everything that you could possibly achieve while you were young. Now you're looking at what's next. And where you're very fortunate is the business that we have built here. This isn't like boxing, right? Where, you grab as much money as you can and then that's it. You're fucking done. You're never making another dollar again for the rest of your fucking life. You guys got a podcast. You guys can commentate. You guys can still be involved in this massive ecosystem that we have built. And whether it's commentating or, we're doing 44 fights a year, which doesn't include the Contender Series, doesn't include the Ultimate Fighter, and some other shit that I'm probably not thinking about now. Plus, I'm working on a bunch of other shit right now too that, will also create other opportunities for you guys. So you guys get to live inside this bubble, this family, this ecosystem, whatever you want to call it. You guys get to live here for the rest of your lives. And you will always have the opportunity to make money here inside the UFC or inside the sport. Because there's other people popping up and doing shit and throwing money. Saudi Arabia is throwing a shitload of money around right now. And, there's lots of opportunity. And that's the key to this whole thing is to continue. It's like when we open a PI in China, we open a PI in Mexico. We're opening a PI in Africa. We're going to open a PI in the Middle East. And as we continue to grow and build this thing, it just creates more and more opportunity for you guys now when you're looking at what's next.
Right. And
then you got ESPN, right? ESPN now, or our rights deal is up pretty soon. We're going to end up somewhere. It's going to be ESPN or somewhere else, which just creates more opportunity for you guys.
You ever thought about maybe your own, the own network of the UFC and produce it?
Well, we have UFC Fight Pass, but
we also like money.
I mean,
it takes some big balls to pull all that shit off and put it on UFC Fight Pass. Yeah. I've been pretty ballsy. I'm not that ballsy.
Yeah, I've been, because I think when we were going through your locker room here, I saw a picture of you and your son Aiden. You as a promoter, seeing your son in that picture, which I love, which is, I don't remember that artist that ended up giving Aiden that painting, but how he's hearing that you're in the background like this, like those nerves of you. Obviously, you're a promoter, but now you seeing your son fight, like. How were those nerves? I remember talking to your son. I was sitting next to him, and I was like, hey, man, I know your position. I know everybody, all eyes on you. Do you want to continue to keep doing amateur boxing? Because I can only imagine, put myself in your shoes. I'm like, you're Dana White's son. All eyes on you, man. And ever him just sitting and just listening to.
When he fought that fight, all right, so every St. Patty's Day, it was actually just the anniversary of that fight, St. Patty's Day in South Boston. They have fights for like over 100 years now. They've been doing these fights on St. Patty's Day. So he said he wanted to fight. So I got 100% behind it, built a camp. He started training. And we went down there. There was a line down the fucking street trying to get into this fight. Place was packed. So I said, let me tell you what, buddy. Suck it in, because no amateur fucking fights are ever like this. Ever. Enjoy this.
Yeah.
But, you know, people who are anti-combat sports and shit like that, back in the day would always ask me, well, what if your kids want to fight? I would fucking 100% support it. There's nothing. My older son Dana has played football all the way up to college. This is his senior year. He's graduating. This was his last year of football. He's played football since fucking pee-wee. There's nothing more dangerous than football, man. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, whatever you are passionate about is what you have to pursue in life. There's risks. There's risks. If you become a fucking painter and you paint houses, there's risks. Breathing in all those fucking chemicals all day. You end up, there's risks. Everything in life is a fucking risk. But you have to go out and do what you enjoy to do. If my daughter wanted to fight, I would absolutely support it and get behind her.
She would definitely have the resources, but I'm trying to go back and really understand those, like you taking yourself out as a promoter.
Oh, you're saying being a father going in?
No. How were you feeling whenever it is that your son got, especially knowing that, guess what? We want to see Dana White's kid fall.
But guys, you have to understand, when you, and you've experienced this in your life too, not just with yourself, but with people that you're close to. When you're close to somebody, whether it's your kid or your friend or your whatever, when they fight, you fucking, that weighs on you watching somebody that you care about fight. Your families have gone through this your entire career, you know, and I've gone through it at different levels. It was the same when my son fought, you know. I've been close to people in this business, and you got to go in and watch them fight. Or even fucking worse, you're really close to both the people that are fighting each other. You know what I mean? And it's a sickening feeling.
So you still feel that till today? You still
100%. Yeah. You know, and your families have fucking gone through that your whole career. Imagine your fucking kids sitting there watching your father fight.
Can I bring something up? It's hard, man. Especially obviously that the time that Kamaru did, you know, he did get knocked out. I was there in Utah. I'll never forget it because I'm looking to my right and I'm seeing this little girl just bob like. Fuck.
100%.
Like, it just hit me so hard. I'm like, dude, like, even until today, like, my kids, I got a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. Like, I don't ever want to bring them to an event because it's like, it's almost like you go through these emotions so young. Because I grew up in the hood and I've seen gangsters fight like right in front of me wherever it's that I grew up. And I was like, as much as I wanted to leave, I wanted to be there because it was suspenseful. But it almost kind of, it makes you grow up so much quicker, so much, you know. Obviously, you've been there, Kamaru. So if anybody could really, you know, talk about it.
But with that, and I quickly was able to, you know, luckily I wasn't like down in the dumps. I was quickly able to just mentally grow from that moment because, it hit me because it really didn't hit me until because I came to, like, I'm sitting in the ambulance. Everything else, which is so surreal, so crazy about the human brain. So it all happens, boom, I get checked out, I shake his hand, I walk out, I'm talk to doctors and all that, but I'm not fully there. You know, I'm not present. So we're done, I hug my parents and whatnot. They say for precautionary measures, let's just go to the hospital, which I think you did push for that. You're like, yeah, just go get checked out. So we get in, I'm sitting in the ambulance, and while we're sitting in the ambulance, Ali's with me. And they're asking you, do you know where you're at? I'm like, yeah, I know where I'm at. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. Oh, shit. If I'm sitting here, that means, God, no, something just happened. So that's when I first came back. So we're sitting in the hospital. I was already okay at this moment. And then, you know, of course, fans, you know, internet's undefeated. They clip that moment and are just rerunning it. And so I see it. I see my daughter, and it hit me so hard. It hit me hard. But we were at the hospital for maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But by that 2 hours, when I left with the mindset of, what a fucking opportunity and a special moment right now that I have to show my daughter that you can be the biggest giant in the world or whatnot. You could be this person, hit rock bottom. Because, of course, when you're on top, there's nowhere, people just want you down. That's
100%.
where everyone, and you know that. And so, what a moment, what an opportunity I have to show her that, fuck, yeah, you can fall. It's okay to fall, but you got to get right back up and get back on the horse. And I just remember feeling so much better because that was a moment for me to teach her. And of course, in the morning, I sat and I talked to her, and she was all good. She's a kid. She was all good with that. She was like, yeah.
You know what's fascinating? This is one of the, first of all, I've seen countless families sit there and watch their loved ones fight, which is fucking crazy. Number one. Number two, but the amount of champions that I've known in my lifetime that when they lose, they feel like this sense of relief. It's the fucking craziest thing ever. There's like, all of them have said there's this sense of relief, like the pressure that I've been carrying for so fucking long, and now it happened, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, or there's just, it's weird. It's a weird thing, but you're right. I mean, in life, when you reach that pinnacle, right? Especially in sports. Sports is probably so much different than anywhere else, but there's nowhere else to go but eventually down. At some point, you're going to lose. At some point, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. When is it going to happen? And I'm always fascinated by how well they handle it.
And I think that's so special for humans in itself. We can sit and talk the whole day about all of these things. But real quick, one last one is, with that, especially that feeling of relief, that I think we long to be humans, because you got to when you're the champion, and this, when you're the champion, you got to carry around this weight on your shoulders, because you're the champion. You got to behave like the champion. You got to look, talk, act like the champion. And of course, you got to show that you're the champion, unless you're doing fucking magic trick on stage, pulling snakes out of hats and whatnot. But think of a guy like Floyd, and you know Floyd well,
Mm-hmm.
Like how I feel like it's humans. We want to be relatable to you. We want to know that you can rise to the top, and then you could fall.
You're never
and then get up
relatable
again.
as a champion.
Yes,
You're never relatable.
that's exactly
Because
what I
the
was
rest of the fucking world could never do what you do. That's why these fucking losers on the internet will fucking tear you down and rip you apart, because they can never be you. There was a time and a place where I believed that I wanted to be what you are, and I realized that I couldn't be. And everybody realizes that. What you people do and what you accomplish in life is so fucking rare. Literally, if you take who actually becomes champions in this sport, right? And when I say in this sport, and I mean at this level in the UFC, this is a whole nother fucking level. You can try to pretend that, this league, that league, bull fucking shit. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the fucking, the pinnacle of this sport. And when you do what you did, you fucking run through the division twice. Nobody fucking does that. So you will never be relatable.
Damn,
Ever.
There you got it. You got it, Kamaru. That gave me the
I'm
chills.
getting chills.
You will never be relatable to anybody, because nobody can fucking achieve what you have achieved. You're an Olympics world champion in the UFC. Fuck relatable. You'll never be relatable to anybody.
And I think that's what's special, Dana, is the fact that the chances that you and the Fertittas took, and the fact that they believed in you, the company is where it's at today. Like I said, man, like, I can go to any country in the world, and at the airport, oh my God, triple C, and different languages. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's super surreal for us, and it's something that we're we're grateful for it. And obviously, we you know, everybody has had their moments, whether it was with you or anybody in the UFC. But at the end of the day, you always have to go back, reel yourself in. It's like, you know what? They gave me a platform, and I appreciate that platform.
Well, this is business, and you know, nobody wants to hear no, and nobody wants to hear, you know, and at the end of the day, one of the things that we do here, I just had this conversation with Poirier a couple weeks ago in Miami. The inmates do not run the asylum here. We push you guys, you know. Ali over there, he's the fucking worst. Ali's the worst at this. Ali will come back and say, oh, we're not, and then we push you, and we make this fucking fight. We get this fight made, right? And what that does is these fights that you know, if you look at the way boxing is done, these guys try to steer clear of the tough fights, you know, so that you can make more money and be 57-0 with fucking 57 knockouts and all that shit. But most of the records are padded and it's all bullshit. When you become a fucking world champion at the UFC, you went through death fucking row of the baddest motherfuckers in the sport in your division that you could possibly fight, right? So when you talk about a Kamaru Usman, who went through him fucking twice, you might not like Kamaru. You might not like whatever it is you don't like about him, but you cannot fucking deny that he's the greatest welterweight of all time.
Ooh, you put you.
Can't deny it.
It's gonna start some.
Can't deny it. You can't deny it. You can.
You're hearing it from Dana White, everybody.
Listen, don't like Kamaru all you want. Whatever you don't like about him, that's your fucking deal.
No, I fucking love
You can't deny it.
Kidding me? It's my boy.
You can't fucking deny
I
it.
was talking to a friend about that, and it's because you see these boxers and they're 22-0, 23-0, which is it's okay. I understand why they do it. You know, some of it. I understand that. Of course, you got to get on the rhythm. You know, you got to build.
But it's
yourself.
the way that the sport is built. That's the way that sport was built.
That sport's built,
and it's never going to change.
Exactly. And then you have guys here. Guys could be 5-1, 6-1, but they have that experience. They have that experience to be able to go into a company like the UFC and be challenged. And you're not picking to try to pad your record till you get to where you're good enough to fight championship caliber fighter. But you might be 8 or 9-1 and 9-2, and you might be in a contender because you have that experience. So here we don't try to pad you. I feel like you don't pad MMA guys to get to a certain level
From day one.
Yeah, from day one.
From the first fucking fight that you take in the UFC, you're fighting the best fucking available guy that you know, and then you start to work your way up. And once you break into that top 10, you're facing nothing but killers in that division. Literally the baddest dudes in the world in your division. And if you get from fucking 10 to 1, you're legit. Nobody can deny it. Nobody can you know, you whether you like somebody or don't like somebody, you can debate on all this shit. But when you fucking go from 10 to 1 in the UFC,
I can give you the perfect example, Dana, and it's a shame because in the UFC, you know, man, once you know when you crack it to the top 10, you're fighting the cream of the crop. There ain't no easy fights. Top 5, holy shit. Top 3, top 2, like shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
But in boxing, you get a Canelo Alvarez, and he doesn't want to fight the Mexican Monster. He doesn't want to fight David Benavidez. I mean, what's wrong with boxing? And what is it that it could change? Because sometimes I feel like the WBC and a lot of these other sanctions, like, dude, strip them. Strip them of their damn belt. Like, I want to know who the actual best in the world is.
100%.
And right now, boxing, this is why I love the UFC, because the best fight the damn best.
So 2 things.
How would you fix boxing, Dana?
So this is how we'll be in these matchmaking meetings, and the matchmakers will come to me. We're doing this, and this. And that's when I'm like, no, this is the fight. That's the fight, whatever. And I push these guys nonstop to make the best possible fights that we can make.
And this is every Tuesday, right? You guys.
Every Tuesday. It's happening today after this podcast. So then what happens with boxing right now that's very interesting is Turk Al-Sheikh.
Yeah. He's trying
So
to
this
create
guy
that super.
now has unlimited amounts of money. And he's trying to make the best possible fights that you could make.
So this is a
So
guy
it's going to
did
be
Fury,
interesting.
This is a guy that did AJ. All
It's going to be
this is the
interesting
guy.
to see what he does over the next several years.
Does he have the firepower to buy all of boxing? Hey, you guys are under the umbrella. You guys, this is now the UFC of boxing. Does he have that power?
I don't know. We're going to find out. The question is, when you have unlimited amounts of money like that, think about this. The amount of money that these guys are throwing at this thing, and they're still having trouble making some of these fights. It's fucking crazy. The boxing mentality is just so...
But how would you fix it, Dana? How would you fix the sport of boxing? 'Cause I think you get rid of the 4 belts. And I think once you get rid of the 4 belts, you put them all under one sanction. And then you just like the UFC, it's the same damn business model. Boxing will continue, will rise again. But as of right now, then the UFC just continues to kind of kick them. The bearing, it just continues. And it's a shame because I'm like you, Dana. I love boxing.
If Saudi Arabia can't do it and can't make this happen right now, nobody can make it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If these guys can't do it, nobody can do it.
Speaking of boxing, you know, I even hate. It's burning my soul to even go here mentally with this question at all. Is of course that's what we say. We talk about the padding and records and things like that. There's a particular fight coming up, and we all know, and we have some sort of relationship with these 2 guys that might particularly be in this fight. But Dana, how do you feel about this Tyson next Tyson fight? I hate that we're even sitting here wasting time talking about this thing, but you're close with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
You know, we're close with Mike Tyson, and I mean, how do you feel about this?
I love Mike, and I hate talking about it because he always gets mad at me when I talk about this stuff. But,
he don't give a fuck too. He'll
not
snap
thrilled
on anybody.
to see him do this stuff. But, when the fight happens, he'll be 58 years old. There'll be a 31-year age difference between these 2. And, Jake Paul did fight a kid his age, and he lost. I just saw this thing on the internet yesterday. I reposted it where it says if he beats Mike Tyson, he's going to fight Clint Eastwood next. Clint Eastwood's 93 years old. It's, I don't know, man.
I feel how you feel. I 100%, but it's not even more so on the side of Mike, because you did hit the nail on the head. As fighters, we are a little different, to where we always have a round in us. Doesn't matter how old we get, we always have a round left.
No, I get it.
And we'll put that round on someone, whether it's protecting your family or it's doing anything like that, we have a round left.
Well, I'll tell you, to really sum this thing up, so Mike was going to fight the Roy Jones fight, and I was all fucking bummed out, didn't want him to fight and all this shit.
Wait, but you know what? He surprised me, though, Dana.
Yeah.
Listen, I thought he put the brakes on.
I agree. He looked fucking great. No doubt about it.
And I was with him
so
on
I
that
said,
time.
listen, Mike, I'll fucking get you other shit to make money. So I put him on Shark Week.
Oh,
yeah, right? I know you heard the story. Yeah. He goes down there, and he almost fucking killed everybody on the set the day that he had to get in the water with the sharks. And his story was hilarious. It's like, this motherfucker keeps telling me how much he cares about me, right? Yeah. I've been fighting since I was a fucking kid. You're going to throw me in the fucking water with a bunch of sharks, and you fucking care about me, and you want to fucking... He's not wrong. Yeah. It's like, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to help Mike and do all this shit. Mike's been fighting since Mike was a fucking kid, and fighting is what Mike knows. Yeah. And fighting is what Mike does. And, Shark Week was probably a fucking bad idea. I have to agree with him on this one. So,
and I mean,
you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
Mike's a grown-ass man. Yeah. Can do whatever the fuck he wants, and I'm going to stay out of... I'm going to stay out of Mike's fucking business.
We it's not on the term of Mike. Mike, of course, 100%. And when I say we have a round left, I mean, we're fighters. We're not going to shy away from a fight, especially a badass like Mike Tyson. He's always, fuck it, let's do it. Right. I don't care if I'm 70.
It's true.
But what I'm getting at is on the verge of Jake Paul. If you want to be taken seriously as a fighter, and you want to,
but he doesn't.
It's
so that's
where I'm getting.
What
at.
Jake wants is Jake wants to make money.
Yes.
The people that follow Jake Paul don't buy Jake Paul's fights. So Jake Paul has to fight people who can actually sell pay-per-views.
Yeah.
That's-
I think it's freaking crazy that we're even talking about. But anyways, moving on, Dana, I think it was cool in the beginning when you first started, how you were in line with the production. I remember in that interview where you're talking with Big Boy, you're talking about how you make sure that you always try to give somebody an experience. So if the light was hitting too bright on somebody, why is that light on top of them to being a promoter, to being a manager at that time? How much has your leadership actually changed now that you're, the president, CEO? Because I imagine you have more help, but how is it that you actually structure everything to make sure everything gets done correctly?
Well, I'm at a point in my life where I do all the shit that I like to do, and I only want to be aligned with people that I want to do fucking business with.
So if
From
you
sponsorship to, fighters to everything.
So either connects or doesn't, you move on. Like time is money.
Well, what you have to do is, first of all, one of the things that, if you ask me what I think I'm really good at, is building great teams. That's what I'm good at. I've built an incredible team over a power slap already. The UFC team is fucking second to none in sports. This fucking group of people that work here are the absolute best in sports. I don't give a fuck if you're with the NFL or the NBA or anything. We smoke everybody in the sports business. This team here is the best in the world. And there's a shitty little room. This is a beautiful room, right? Isn't this nice? My office is great. You went through the fucking thing. There's a shitty room across the hall that's like, it was supposed to be a file cabinet closet. I turned it into the war room, right? Every Tuesday, we meet in there. Every day, me, Sean, Hunter will go just sit in there by ourselves and stare at the walls. And it's the most important room in the entire company. It's where all the fucking fights are made. The only things I focus on a daily basis are finding new up-and-coming talent, matchmaking the best fights that we can make, putting them on in the places where they need to go, meaning is this fight in London, is this fight here, and production. I focus on those things every single day that I'm here. If you don't fuck that up, you can't fuck this thing up,
But when you talk about production, what do you mean by that?
The in-house live event and what you see on television Saturday night, whether it's at the Apex or it's at Madison Square Garden.
So you also play the creative side too.
Yeah, I'm all in on the production. I literally, if you ever see me, you see people talking shit all the time. He's got the best seat in the house and he's watching the television. Because what's going on in the octagon, I don't fucking control. You do. Whatever's going on in there, you control. I'm watching the TV because I can control that. And there's a phone right there. I talk to the truck multiple times a night. You know what I mean?
In line with just dealing with all of those, you see all these guys, you've seen all these guys over 30 years. How do you feel about this new generation of talent? How do you feel they differ from what you've been seeing?
Yeah, I think that, if you look at, I think everything has literally been perfect. If you look at the first season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, that cast, if you look at the crew that we had when we first bought the company, from the Matt Hughes to the Rich Franklins to the Chuck Liddells to the list goes on and on. Everybody has been perfect. And as the sport continues to grow, the cast of characters that we've had and continue to bring in, it's all good. I don't.
Quick follow-up. And you have to answer this. You can't duck this. Who's been your favorite?
My favorite?
Yes.
I wouldn't say there's been a favorite. There's been favorites. No, obviously.
Who's your?
Everybody knows my relationship with Chuck Liddell.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Great relationship with Chuck. I managed him before he. You realize,
dude,
when I managed Chuck Liddell,
nuts, dude.
The UFC didn't want him.
Really?
I couldn't get him in the UFC because they didn't want him. They didn't like Chuck Liddell.
Oh, hot.
Whatever their deal was, they didn't like Chuck Liddell. So we bought the UFC, and Chuck Liddell became.
Chuck's going to be in the UFC whether you like it or not.
Chuck Liddell's an icon, man. I just, dude, I partied with them one time. This was like maybe 12 years ago. I'll never forget it. I've never partied with somebody like with Chuck Liddell. Like,
And therein lies the problem with Chuck Liddell. That became a problem. Well, one of my other favorites was Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is one of the greatest athletes I've ever worked with. Die hard fucking, never said no. She would fucking do anything that needed to be done, anything to help the company, anything to be successful. She was amazing. But there's laundry list of people. Kamaru, you've been fucking great to work with.
Thank you.
We've never called, your manager, you have never fucking turned down a fight. That's a fact. Nobody's ever turned, right? Dude's never turned down a fight.
yeah, come on.
Ali has turned down a few fights. Kamaru has never turned down a fight. Oh, Ali's going to love, there's a documentary that comes out soon.
Really?
Oh yeah, Ali's going to love this doc. He's going to love it. I blindsided him one day in the fucking, he was sitting in there with Habib in the kitchen. And I went in there and offered him a fight in the kitchen for you.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what is
you remember
the
that day? You don't remember that day? Oh, you're going to love this documentary, Ali.
So when you bring up somebody like Ronda Rousey or like Chuck Liddell, they could fight, but they also brought the entertainment piece. Like for the newcomers kind of come in. I didn't start getting the game. Like I knew that I knew that I wasn't first Dana, so it had to be different. Like, say I went to college. I got my degree. I did a bunch of things, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit of me, actually a lot of bit of me, and I'm going to crank it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the king of cringe. When you look at somebody like Ronda Rousey, she had her persona. Conor McGregor has his persona. Kamaru Usman has his persona. Because it's not just about fighting, but can you be the full package and actually entertain?
But it is. Conor McGregor is a fucking unicorn, okay? When you run into a Conor McGregor, yes, he's funny. He's got the personality. He's got that thing, right? But at the end of the day, what people really loved about Conor McGregor, he never fucking turned down a fight. Say what you want about, again, like I said about Kamaru, say what you want about Conor, you don't like him, whatever the fucking deal is. There's video footage of me and Lorenzo standing in his fucking house. He just wakes up in his fucking underwear. He's been training for a fight, right? And the fight's off. Tons of money spent on both sides, UFC. Conor spent shitloads of his own money. The motherfucker woke up, came out of bed and said, we told him, right? You see him sort of absorb it for a minute and he's like, well, I'm going to the gym. Call me later and let me know who I'm fighting. That's what people fucking like. You can have all the fucking personality and all this shit. People love fucking killers. Ronda Rousey in her day, say what you want about her, she was a fucking killer. She'd fight anybody. Conor was a fucking killer. Chuck Liddell was a fucking killer, would fight anybody. People were actually ducking and dodging Chuck Liddell back in the day, and Chuck was willing to fight it. That's what people like. Now, if you have that and you got some personality too, I don't give a fuck if you're a deaf mute. If you're a fucking killer and you want to fight everybody and you go in to finish everybody, people love you.
Well,
why do people love Mike Tyson?
Because he's genuine.
Because he was a fucking killer.
Yeah, but he could fight, but he fucking speaks his mind, but 100%.
If Mike Tyson couldn't say fucking a word, Mike Tyson was a killer. And that's what people love.
Yeah. Well, look, speaking about Conor McGregor, obviously, Dana, we got to bring it up. This is a quote by Conor. I was hoping for a December date, then January date. Then it keeps getting pushed back. Then I lost interest, stopped training for a while. Not stopped training, but, stopped training for a full camp, kind of started drinking a little bit. So I'm going to go back and regroup, get fully tested, and get ready to rock. The date's going to come, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll. I mean, I know Conor McGregor. I just saw an interview with him saying that there's a little bit of pushback. He wants to fight. He's ready for the date. It seems like there's a little lack of communications with you guys.
There's no lack of communication. Not at all. You know where Conor is tonight?
Probably at a bar.
No. He's in New York City for the premiere of Roadhouse.
Of course.
He has obligations right now to promote this movie. So he's been flying all over the world, going to all the premieres of this launch of this movie. This is an obligation that he has to do.
Oh,
he can't.
So you as a promoter, you also look out for him. Like, hey, get done with this first before you
100%.
decide to fight. Okay, so
100%.
it's more you actually looking out for him.
It is what it is. He committed to this movie. He has obligations to this movie. He can't do both. So once this movie launches, which is Thursday, this thing launches Thursday the 17th or the 21st. Thursday the 21st. Thursday the 21st. And boom. I don't know what his obligations are once it launches. Then Conor can get back in the gym and start training. So like full time, like getting ready for a camp. But you two can attest to this too. Tell me if I'm fucking wrong. Once you start to make a lot of money, you know, you're not as hungry as you were before. And it is harder to get in the gym. And it does suck to fucking grind as hard as you used to grind. And it is harder to stay on top once you make that kind of money, right? And then you think about the money that Conor's made. You know, this dude's living on fucking legit yachts for months and shit like that. So, you know, but when you, again, Conor McGregor, for a guy who, you know, at one time was on the dole or whatever his situation was when he came into the UFC, for a guy that had never done big business, he's a pretty good fucking businessman. And he's been a great partner to us. So I like to be a good partner back. Conor needed this time to take off, handle his obligations, and now once this is over, he can get back into full-time training, which means from Thursday on, we can start talking about fights for Conor.
Yeah, so it's almost like his ambition of wanting to get in there, kind of making things public. That's pretty much probably a good sign, letting you know that, hey, I want to fight. Because he's right. If I, honestly, Dana, if I had Conor McGregor money from everything that I've accomplished, I'd be like, dude, I'm leaving like a pimp, dude. I'm out. Like, I grew up in the hood, a single parent just like yourself. I've accomplished everything I've ever desired to, but with that type of money and he still wants to fight,
yep.
Shit, you got to give him his...
It's true. And that money's still coming in, you know. A lot of fighters, right? You'll have some sponsors, you'll have some shit, you got some money in the bank, but it's like, I got to get out there and make some more money. This guy doesn't have to fucking make more money by fighting. He's making shitloads of money in lots of different areas. So to get that desire and that drive and that, you know, I mean, I'm preaching to the preachers here. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is faith. You touched on that a little bit as well as you finding your core group of people that you make money with and you trust them, you know, because obviously that's not everyone is like that. As we're realizing now, being in actual the world and of business, and not everyone is like that.
True.
Your core group of people you trust. You know that if he says he's going to do this, 100%. I know he's going to do that. And yeah, obviously, well, Conor.
If you look at me and the Fertittas, right, there's never been a better fucking scenario. First of all, we got into a business together that was dying, was losing shitloads of fucking money. You know what we never did? We never turned on each other, right? We stuck together and we fought through it and we won. Now it's a rocket ship of success. Ego and money and all this other shit didn't destroy us. And, you know, we get to the point where we sell. And now we're in fucking 4 or 5 other businesses together. We were meant to be together. Yeah. Period. End of story. And absolutely. These are the type of people you need to surround yourself with. Now, Conor McGregor has always been a good partner to us. He's been great. So let's do this the fucking right way. Who cares what the fucking media says or what they think or all the fucking white noise that comes with all this shit? When it's time and he's ready and he can seriously dedicate himself to training and not be weighed down by any other obligations, then we'll do it.
Well, Dana, you know, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Congrats on your podcast, boys.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think, Dana? You think?
I'm happy for you guys. Congrats. Yeah.
Thank you. We know you have a tough schedule. But, you know, with all the things that have been said about you over the years, that Dana's this, Dana's that, you know, Dana doesn't care about the fighters, Dana doesn't do this, doesn't do that, you know, I have to give you your flowers as, you know, it's been a pleasure to actually get to know you because, and like I said, my relationship with you wasn't always like just this. It was moments where I was like, no, that dude hates me, so I hate that dude too.
30%.
Like that dude. Yeah,
30%. My favorite fucking lines of all time. I just gave 30%.
Yeah, so
That was our moment.
Yeah,
with me and you.
Even through all those ups and downs, and
That was our moment. That was
Yeah.
when you and I.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough at that time, but get
But
to know you.
look at where you are now.
And actually grow the relationship and really get to know what you do here and what we do here in the UFC and as a company and as fighters as well. When you're at the bottom, you kind of feel a certain way because you look at the guys at the top and you're like, oh, I need to get there. You don't think of how well you have it there, even at the bottom, even coming in entry level into the UFC. You've done such a phenomenal job. The company, your team, your partners have done such a phenomenal job. I just want to say I'm grateful. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to even, have a platform to change our families' lives and our lives. So,
and
thank you for that.
Likewise for what you got. But I would say that at some point, there's probably 2 or 3, maybe 5 fighters that have been here that at some point haven't thought that I did not like them. You know what I mean? I'm sure he felt the same way. You felt the same way. We could probably bring 2,000 other fucking fighters in here that would say the same thing. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do here is trying to tap in to
Your full
your
potential?
fucking potential to be fucking great, to be a fucking legend, to put on legendary fights, and hopefully with the hard love try to guide you on that path. You heard all the things that I said about you with your 30% comment, and now I'm sitting here today, and I'll fucking, whoever wants to debate it with me, that you're the greatest welterweight of all time.
Damn.
So
I appreciate that. And on that note, I mean, we're grateful. Thank you for your time.
Likewise.
This is tough, but with that, we're gonna say it's been a pleasure. The boss man, Uncle Dana, as Henry likes to say, but my man, DW Dana White.
Yep,
Thank you,
there you
boys.
have it,
Thank
guys. But you guys just watched an episode of Pound for Pound. I'm your co-host, Henry Cejudo, a.k.a. Triple C.
In the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman.
And we had Dana White. We're out.